Osborne, CEO of Audrain LLC, and we're here in the Audrain Automobile Museum in Newport, Rhode Island, celebrating the past to the present, power and speed with style. In this exhibition, we look at how the DNA of the great companies expresses itself in their offerings through the decades. And what a company to express that message of continuous DNA than Porsche. Basically, from their founding in 1948 through to the present day, two models have defined the mark in a way that none others have, the 356 and the 911. And when you think about what the 356 represented to an entire generation of automotive enthusiasts, the idea of the giant killer, a small, light, not very powerful car that had great road-holding capabilities and superb engineering, enabling it to outperform cars that were much more powerful and much more developed than the Porsche happened to be. However, Ferdinand Porsche and his son Ferry and the people who followed, the engineers and designers at Porsche, all understood exactly what it took to give a feel to a Porsche. What did a Porsche mean? And that continues to this day. But let's take a look first at this, an icon of Porsche cars, a 1956 356 Speedster. The Speedster was the brainchild of the brilliant Max Hoffman, who was at the time the importer for Porsche in the US. He knew that Porsche needed to really reach the US customer, who at that time was ideally driven by the fellow who wanted to drive their car during the week to work and then take it to the racetrack on the weekends, race it, and then drive it again during the week. That was their best brand ambassador. And Hoffman knew that if they could sell a car that was inexpensive enough for that enthusiast to buy, race, and drive, they could have a great success in their hands. The first example of that car, the Porsche America Roadster, was an interesting experiment, but wasn't exactly what Max Hoffman had in mind. So instead, on the second round, the Porsche engineers and designers came up with this decontented 356 Cabriolet. So instead of the roll-up windows, it had side curtains. Instead of a full windshield, a shorter windshield for better aerodynamics, and better yet, that could be unbolted at the weekend if you wanted to run without a windshield with a little aero screen. This car, no roll-up windows, the aero screen, no complicated folding top, just a canvas covering to protect you in case it rained, was an immediate success. With a 1.5 liter, 60 horsepower engine, it frequently not only challenged for class wins, but sometimes for overall wins when it raced against much bigger machinery. Today, we have the 2019 Porsche 911 Speedster, a thoroughly modern interpretation of the spirit of the Speedster. Now, things have changed, and in fact, it's quite interesting that while the 356 Speedster was much lighter at 1,800 pounds than the equivalent Porsche coupes and cabriolets, the modern 911 Speedster is actually 100 pounds heavier than the GT3 on which it's based. The 4-liter flat-six engine in the 911 Speedster puts out 502 horsepower, a far cry from that of the 356 Speedster. Nonetheless, it still has all the expression of the original Speedster. It's minimalist in a way in terms of design, the lower windshield, the interior appointments, to give you the feeling of really being connected to the road, which is all about what Porsche driving is. And this particular example is also finished in a special paint scheme reminiscent of the way the Speedsters ran at races during the 1950s. To this day, you can always tell when you're in a Porsche, when you're behind the wheel of a Porsche, the driving experience is like no other car. You know where you are and what you're driving. What better way to continue and to express the DNA of a brand than to continue it with an unbroken line as Porsche has.
Hey, it's Donald Osborne again. If you like these videos, let your friends know. Subscribe, comment, share.